Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm so excited to be here speaking with Heather Phillips about her experience with the Shed and the Shed Masters program and sharing this with you so you can get a better understanding about what's this program about? What does it look like? What should I expect? What are the pros, the cons? Where was it hard? Where was it easy? And ultimately the value and the result that you will get short-term and long-term. Now, Heather is very much like all of you in the sense that she is a busy working mom, partner, friend, entrepreneur. She's an independent stylist with Color Street, which, by the way, I am wearing their lipstick because, listen up, anybody who has Invisalign. You know, with Invisalign, you can't smile with lipstick on because then it gets all over your trays. But with this, I feel like an ad for you, but it's true. But like this lipstick, like I can smile and it doesn't get on my Invisalign and I can actually have lipstick on.
Well, that's
So
great to know.
I'm kind of stoked about that. Anyway, I digress to me. Let's go back to Heather. You can relate to her, right? You can relate to doing it all, building a business, having a full-time job, both like Heather is doing, children, partnership, everything. Your time is so scarce and limited, but you realize that you can no longer be an afterthought or a non-essential, and you have to do something. And that's what Heather did when she messaged me on Facebook. I think your words were like, I'm fucking done. I need to do something. Let's go. So what was going on for you? Like, how did you feel? What was life like? Like, how did you experience living life pre-Shed?
I spent probably 15 years with daily headaches, and it became just a norm where I was self-medicating with, well, maybe not self-medicating, but Excedrin was something that I took every day in order to just get through the day. Where I broke, I think I had been on 3 different trips in the last 5 years. And each time I spent at least a day or two knocked out with a migraine. And I had earned a trip through Color Street, hustling my butt off. And I was in Punta Cana and I spent 2 days in bed in Punta Cana on an all expense paid trip. And that is when I found you again, reconnected. And I just knew that I had to do something. This is not normal. It's not how we should spend our days. So that's what I did. I reached out to you. Thankfully, we hooked up, and the changes that I've made in my life with your recommendations, your teaching, and your coaching, I can happily and proudly say that I don't struggle with the headaches anymore. I feel like I've gained my life back because I didn't even know the full scope of how crappy I felt until you feel better, until you make the changes and give the chance and switched my thinking that this doesn't happen in a day. There's no quick pill, there's no quick fix. It takes really, really hard work, but it's so worth it. I can't express to people enough or clearly enough on the changes, the small changes I made on just cutting some things out and learning how to eat correctly, how much better I feel.
Yeah. And I think what's key there is like correctly for your body. Like we just got done talking about your GI, like your GI test that you did and the food allergy and sensitivity and learning like, okay, like this is for you, right? That doesn't mean it's for everybody, but this is for you. And that's what your body needed.
Yeah, and that was really big.
Right? Like that's super important. Otherwise, we just keep buying programs and signing up for the next best thing. But it's like, can you imagine if you spent a bunch of money and time on another program? And just for example, right? Like eggs are not your friend. Wheat is not your friend. And they had a meal plan for you that had a bunch of eggs in it and your whole grains, and you would have kept having headaches and you would have kept feeling inflamed and having your gut problems like that. It doesn't matter how thin anybody gets. It's not worth it if you don't feel well.
No. And you don't want to function in life if you don't feel well. So
Right.
yeah, great. You look good. You're skinny if that's what you're going for. But
Mhm.
I didn't want to
You're
go
not
out of the
happy.
house. No,
Yeah,
I
you
was
don't feel
like,
good.
no, and I'm crabby ass. And I'm like, friend, yeah, okay, friends, let's get together on Thursday. Well, Monday when we plan it, I'm all excited. It gets to Thursday and I'm feeling like shit. I don't want to go. That
Mhm.
has changed my life because now I look forward to the stuff. I don't just feeling good. It's amazing to me. I keep going back to that, like how shitty I felt, how crappy I felt, and I didn't even really know it. And these changes, and again, small changes when you just cut things out or learn how, like you're saying, it's not one size fits all. It was for me, what works, what doesn't work. It's so worth it. Can I deal with not eating eggs the rest of my life if I know I'm going to feel good and not wake up with a headache, like wake up with a headache every day?
Yeah.
It's life
Yeah.
changing. It really, really is.
I love that because I think, like I hear women say, it's like we get to a point, right? Like I think about it like when we're in our 20s and maybe early 30s, it's all about, not all about, but I'm generalizing here, but it's about like how we look and being thin and being fit. And then we get to this point where we're like, if you're like many of us, we kind of go into survival mode a little bit there with our kids and working, and it's just surviving, it's just hanging on. And then we come out of that and we're like, oh shit, it's about living now. It's
Hmm.
about like, how long can I be in this earth to play with my kids, but or my grandkids? And like, this is our time now. Like, our kids are gone and we've made the money and we have the time. And it's like, this is our time now. And we don't want to spend it in bed with a headache. And it's less about how much weight am I going to lose and more about what's the quality and quantity of life that I can accomplish.
Yeah. And stop band-aiding it. I needed like quick fixes. And maybe at that moment in my life it worked, just living on Excedrin. But I don't want that quick fix anymore.
Yeah,
There's a reason. It,
exactly. There's always a root cause. Yeah, there's always a root cause, and we have to find that. So I have a question for you, because this program is not for everybody, right?
Mhm.
Like, I would say it's best suited for 40 to 65. I mean, we do have some 35-year-olds in there, but truly we're looking at, well, I'm going to let you speak to it. I don't want to lead you on. What would you say to the women they've been watching and they've been listening, right? But they're not quite ready. What advice would you give to them? Because, right, it's not inexpensive and it requires time and energy and effort. So what would you tell these women that they're just watching and they're just kind of like, do I do it or do I not?
I talked to you about this when I was on the fence. And for me, it was a decision on I would do this for my business in a heartbeat. I would invest the money in marketing, in trainings, in learning, in all of these things in a minute and not even think for a second about it. But when it came to myself, the investment was scary, selfish, all of these things. But when I started to think deeper about it, the real investment should be me. Like you said, you want to be around for your kids. You want to feel the best you can be. It's time that investment is actually put in the right place in my life. Like invest in just invest in you. You are the core of everything. It's not selfish. It's needed. It's not taking away from anybody else because you're becoming more of who you should be. It enriches everybody around you when you feel good, when you can partake and live. And that was the big thing for me. There's so many years that I was there and I was present, but I wasn't living with my kids. I wasn't living with even my job, my career, my partner. Like now I feel like I'm really, really living. And it's because I invested in myself. Yes, it takes work. It's hard. It's scary, but so valuable. we have to relearn and kick out all of those things that we've learned over the last almost 50 years. We can't live on Red Bull, and it's cool to be so busy and stressed out and pretend we're happy. How about that flip side of the real life? Like just taking care of yourself and not the stress. Like find out what's really important and focus on the good stuff.
It's like I say, it is we have to at some point realize that we are the asset, we are the epicenter, we are essential. Yet we treat ourselves as non-essential. We will put laundry before our needs. Number one, what is that saying to ourselves? And number two, what is that modeling for children, to future generations? And what is the fucking benefit? Like, what is the benefit of literally picking up dog poo and making that a priority versus going for your walk or cooking a meal, right? Like, so really truly shifting the perspective that we say this in the master's program, right? Is we say, like, in order for this to work, I need to be in working order. And this is life. This is career. This is mothering. This is partnering. This is building your business. I mean, talk about that. Let's talk about that for a second, right? Because you and I both are entrepreneurs at heart, right? Yes, you have a full-time job as well, and you are also an entrepreneur because you love it. And talk to me about the impact of your health and well-being, like how you felt on your business then versus how you feel working in your business now. Or maybe it's not even on your business, maybe it's in your career.
The energy levels are completely different. That's, I guess, the easiest answer, but secondary to me is the worse I felt, and we kind of touched on this before, the worse I felt, the more I became introverted. And now with these changes that I've made, the headspace work I've made, the physical, all of it, it's just this whole scope of stuff. I want to be out and I want to talk to people, and that excitement of feeling so good, it shines through with everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Nobody wants to talk to you about your business if you're like, oh yeah,
yes,
this is great. Try my lipstick.
Right? Like if you look like a wreck and you feel like a wreck and you're a wreck inside of your brain, right? And how you're talking to yourself, all of that. And that's an extreme, but that's how we feel sometimes. Like we just feel, what's the word? Ugh.
Yeah. And that
Right?
constant state of chaos because you
Yes.
don't know where to focus because you feel so crappy. It's like,
Right. You're busy managing your own shit.
Literally.
And, yeah. And so who wants to buy that? Who wants to hire that? Who wants to come to you as a mentor? Or what boss wants to give you the promotion or put you as lead on the project when, quite frankly, you look like a hot mess and you exude that energy? And it's a real thing. We all know it, right? You all know that woman that walks into a room and she owns it and she just like vibrates this like vitality. She earned it. She prioritized herself. She did things like this for herself. Okay, what's the worst part? Right? Because this is not the easiest. So when we really look at the pillars of the shed, it's nutrition therapy, laboratory testing, and coaching psychology. Okay, so what's the hardest part for you? Everybody has their own thing, right? Like all the other clients I've interviewed, they're like, I love this and I don't love that, right? And I would say, take what you love, take what works, leave the rest. So for you, what would you say was the hardest part?
The psychology part of it. Why did I continue to put myself on the back burner when we know, like ultimately, you really know what you should be doing at the core, the base. Put yourself first. Get your exercise in. Drink what, if you just want to be like completely generic, we know, but why do we not do it? If you know you shouldn't eat gluten, why would you continue to just put it in and feel like shit, which compounds to feel like shit, which everybody around you feels like shit? I mean, why do we punish? So that for me was this there's a lot of work in there in my head, and really being real and being scary. That's been the hardest thing for me.
Yeah. Talk about that a little bit, because that's what Liz said too. She's like, listen, if you're not willing to be vulnerable within the cohort and with the other women, and like say the things that are in your head where you're like, it's the crazies, I can't say that, everybody's going to think, judge me, blah, 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 blah. Right. Then it's not going to be great. It's not going to be great. You're going to have a weight loss, but you're going to miss all the other things that contributed to the weight gain and the health in the first place. Right. Like the brain is managing it long term. So what would you say about the cohort, like the women in the cohort, your experience with it? Because that's a big piece of the program.
It is. I think the support, with so many different personalities, coming from different places, the questions that you have that you might not want to speak up about, someone else is going to ask that question. And if not, then speak up, and no one ever is judged by it, because I guarantee we're all thinking the same thing. We are. I mean, and we've cried and we've laughed and we swear, and it's just real.
Yeah.
Being true, not saying what I think you want to hear or the other people in the cohort, which have been amazing. Yeah.
It really is. Anybody can follow a meal plan. Anybody can, restrict their calories for a while, even though we don't even talk about calories. Anybody could just follow the plan.
Yeah. If you want to lose a quick 20, we all can do it.
We all can do it, right? But then we gain it back, because the problem with the diets out there is that they don't do this work. They don't teach you how to really look at what is the foundation here. The foundation is, how are you managing your brain? Nothing can go in your mouth without your brain telling it, right? The only thing that's telling you not to go to the gym is your brain. The only thing that's telling you to people please and make your kids all this food, even though you feel like garbage when you eat it and self-sacrifice, is your brain. So like you're saying, like, if that's cleared up, and by the way, it'll never be cleared up, right?
Because the more you clear, something new pops in. But
right.
You're also
totally.
showing us and coaching us the way on how to, like, why is this popping up? How are we dealing with this? What should you really be focusing on? Is this coming up because of something else? I mean, those are the things I love too.
Yeah. Who do you think this is best for? Think about, I guess, your experience and the women in the cohort, and like, there's people out there that you'd be like, no, I'm not even going to mention it to her. And there's people that you're like, you've got to do it. Who would you say has to do this program?
I don't know if age specific is really important, but the maturity aspect of living for yourself and realizing that if you don't do this for yourself, it's never going to change. Like, I look at my kids, and it might work for one of them too, because I have one that's a super deep thinker, and I have one that wants the quick fix. And if you're looking for the quick fix, this is not it. It's not. So I wouldn't bring it up to somebody who I know that wants to try every new fad and every new thing, because this is not that. It's not a fad. This is life changing. Like you said, it's the foundation, it's the core, it's rebuilding and taking away all of the things that we've pounded in our own brains. And in the busy moms, you can live this way and show your kids this, even with being busy. It doesn't have to be drive-through McDonald's. It doesn't have to take away from any of that either. Like, I think it's more about mindset. If you're ready to do the work, this is for you. If you're going to battle, oh, I did this before, or or if you're in that mindset of like, I have to count macros, I know that's the only way. Like, this isn't for you either, because you need to be open to a whole different take on things. Yeah. And I don't know, I've done it all. I've tried every quick drink and pill and that, and this is the only thing that's ever going to work, because it started in my head, and It also, you showed us how the testing or
The
you know,
labs,
the labs,
the
thank
data.
you.
Yes,
Yeah, the
data is
labs.
important.
And anytime I went to the doctor about the headaches, it was, here's a new migraine medicine, here's a new this, here's a new Band-Aid. And I've been dealing with that for 15 to 20 years. Like, you're the only person. And maybe it's because I pushed as well, because I knew I needed to make that change. But you being who you are, and the foundation that you've set for yourself and your business to share that with all of us, it's life-changing.
Mhm. I love it. I love having you in the group. You're such a contribution. You're inspiring. I love seeing the shift. Like, you can always see it. There's such a pattern. You know it, right? Like, when we're about to go into a breakthrough, we go low. We all get pissed off and we get angry and
Mhm.
frustrated and confused. And you're just like, you have that week or two where you're just really in struggle. And then that's when the change happens. And then every time it's like, that is the breakthrough, and you shoot up to the next plateau, and then you do your work. And this is kind of the pattern of it. And it's awesome having you in there because, you're representing being vulnerable, being authentic, taking ownership, being supportive with the other women, right? And not holding back, because it does no good. It does no good if we hold back, or we withhold, I should say. And so, like, you're putting it out there, and it gives everybody else permission to just be real, right? And go through the highs and go through the lows and go through the things of like, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say it. And we're all like, oh yeah, got it. Felt the
Mhm.
same way too. Thought that about my kids too. Thought that about my partner too.
Yeah.
Like, all the life stuff. So thank you so much for being in it. And is there anything else that you want to say before we wrap up?
If you are feeling like something's off in your life, if you are feeling not right in your skin, if you are feeling not right in your mind, it all starts with this stuff. And I think if you don't give yourself a chance to heal and invest in yourself, this is your life. You're looking at it, your uncomfortableness, your unhappiness. Like, this is just the start. And this is what I think everybody needs this, if they're mature and they're ready to do the work. Because you can't just get it and join this and like, I'm going to listen to all this and I'm going to, pretend to do the work and it's going to make everything right. No, it's hard and really, really good.
Hard and real. Yeah. And the beauty is, what you learn here, you have for life. So it's a compounding investment. It's not like Ozempic. It's not like the little gummy that Kelly Clarkson came out with, where you take it and maybe you lose some weight, but what then after?
Mhm.
It's like leasing a car, right? You just spend money. No, I lease. I'm not ripping on it, but I'm happy to do that. You spend money, right? But it's gone at the end. This is what you have for life. Nobody can ever take this away from you. This foundation, this education, this resources, this growth and knowledge. It is always with you. And you will hear, I have people 5-10 years that I worked with, and they'll call me and be like, I just heard your voice in my head. And I'm always like, oh God, was it good? Like, shit, waiting for it. And they're like, it was so good. I heard your voice and I remembered this, and it totally helped. So,
And I do look back at stuff that we started, it's been almost a year. I'll go back and look at that stuff or watch the videos. It's really such a good resource when you're feeling that struggle bus beeping at you. Okay, I need to get back to the core. What's going on here?
yeah,
Why are you feeling like
why?
this? Mhm.
Why? Yes. And you have the information for life. Like, that's the beauty. Like, if you're like in a particular struggle, you'd be like, oh, wait. I remember we talked about that. I'm going to go back and watch those coaching videos and redo that work.
Mhm.
Like, that doesn't get taken away from you. Like, you're buying this for life. Thank you so much.